What's going on? What's going on? MVP Sports Talk Radio Live, WARA Studios, Attleboro, Mass. How's everyone doing on this rainy Wednesday? I feel like it's always a Wednesday where it rains. Hump day problems. But, yeah, we've got a post-draft show tonight. Like I said on the Facebook post, if you saw it, going to be a little bit of a earlier show tonight. Probably run until about 8:15. We'll see what happens. Ryan's got some things to take care of, and I believe Drew will be calling in. So don't mind that. Getting rusty over here, trying to get the feed up. But, yeah, so we got to talk about the draft. We'll talk about, the Sox and the Bruins clinching playoffs. So we'll dive into that a little bit. Maybe a little UFC jabber here and there. And, yeah, we'll get a good show in here tonight. So I believe we'll have Drew calling in probably about, 10 past, 15 past the hour here. We'll roll one of the breaks coming up shortly. And Ryan should be in here any minute. So until then, it's just your boy here in studio. And like I said, we're going to have a bunch of draft talk to get through. So stick around. Again, 508-222-1320. We'd love to have you call in tonight. And, keep us busy. Like I said, 8:15-ish, 8 o'clock. So a little bit of a shorter show, but we want to make sure we didn't reschedule this week's rather. So definitely call in. Again, 508-222-1320. We're going to finish up the opening song here, ship it up to Boston. We'll roll a break, and hopefully Ryan will be in. So stick around. MVP Sports Talk Radio Live, WARA Studios. Got Ryan in here with me.
Daddy's home.
Rocking and rolling.
Daddy is home. Listeners, Daddy is home.
Got the Sox game on in studio. Looking like a rain delay, possibly. It's not really raining here in Attleboro. But, maybe it's a little different in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
But it looked like they were about to pull the tarp off the field, so.
That'd be nice.
I think it was a 7:10 start, so they might have just been waiting. They might be running a little behind getting the tarp off. So, we might see it start off soon.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know what time Drew's calling in at. I don't want to talk too much draft without Drew, but I don't know what time he's calling in at.
Do you want to wait? Do you want to hold off?
I don't know, 'cause I don't know what time he's calling in. But, I mean, we could talk baseball and hockey in the meantime as well.
I mean,
He said, but the draft.
Oh, the draft. Oh. I mean, like, we can kind of little, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, kind of like.
Dip our toes in?
Yeah, dip the toes, like, dip your feet in.
Yeah.
You know, you're sitting at the pool. Like, you don't want to get in the pool quite yet. You just, like, take a couple steps down into the shallow end.
Get your shins in the water.
You know? So, how do you feel about Mac Jones?
I don't know. You know what? I feel like he was a good pick. I criticized him.
First round draft pick, number 15.
Yeah. I criticized
Didn't have
him
to trade
before.
up, didn't trade down. We waited at 15, and Bill took Mac Jones.
Arguably was going to be the third pick of the draft. Well, was the first pick,
Possibly.
third pick in the draft up until probably I'd say the day of.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
In terms of projections,
they're pretty set on him. You got Garoppolo, who would have been great to mentor him up, but so I don't know. I'm not big on Trey Lance, so I'm just amazed at the hype on him.
In terms, okay, so
I don't know. I just can't see, like, it baffles me that the third pick in the 2021 draft is a guy who has one season of stats.
So in terms of what San Francisco gave up to get number 3 and to take Trey Lance, it's questionable. It's very
they definitely could have. I think he would have lasted.
Trey Lance could be an absolute bust, like a Ryan Leaf type of bust.
Yeah, he's a gamble. I like it as a gamble. I would like that at like pick 15 if everyone's gone. It's a good gamble. I don't like it at 3.
But his ceiling is like Patrick Mahomes.
The problem
type
is what
thing.
you give
like,
up, though.
In terms of like his
he
potential,
he could be
is
the next
upwards
Mahomes.
of Patrick Mahomes.
I feel like the potential is either it's Mahomes or bust. Is how I'm viewing it as. Look, I mean, his stats are great, but again, you got 1 year to go off. You got a good pro day, but it's just like third pick in the draft.
If San Francisco,
like, I totally get Chicago.
San Francisco
dumping the boat
knew
to move.
when they traded up for 3, they were going to take Lance right from the rip. When they traded up for that pick, do you think that they were going to be set on Trey Lance?
They said that they weren't set on Lance until the day of the draft. He can't. I
don't think I believe that.
When he had,
honest to God,
they said they were going Jones.
I could care less what they said
until they met Lance. He came out, put on a pro day, and the way he talked to them, they were sold. Is what they said, and I do believe that.
Or did they think they could get Zach Wilson at 3?
Because I think they would have got rid of Garoppolo if they knew they were taking Lance.
They were trying to get rid of Garoppolo.
They would have tried, like, they would have gotten rid of him. They would have been more inclined to get rid of him.
I heard
quicker.
today that the Patriots were working on a contract restructure for Garoppolo for the trade, and they brought it down from $25 million to $16 million, and Garoppolo didn't take it. Garoppolo's staying in San Francisco and wants to make $25 million this year.
He's not dumb. Cash out.
San Francisco could let him go before August, and he
won't
get any of it.
He's guaranteed how much, though?
He's already gotten the guaranteed money. So if they cut him before September, before week 1, if they cut him before week 1 of the season,
he'll just go sign.
He doesn't get any.
He'll go
he doesn't get the $25 million.
He'll go make 10, 15 mil somewhere.
So that tells you that the Patriots were working on a deal to restructure Garoppolo to give him guaranteed money for this season. $16 million, here you go, guaranteed money. You get it for the season. Or stay with San Francisco, try and work your way to get that $25 million, but if San Francisco cuts you before week 1, you don't get any of it.
Yes, yeah.
He's betting on himself.
Yeah, he's betting on himself.
Garoppolo's betting on himself, and after he's been hurt every season for the past 3 years, right?
Yeah.
but we know what his potential is.
He
know
would
what
be
he can
good.
be.
He would be a good balance in New England. I would not mind him in New England short term.
Would you have preferred Garoppolo over Mac Jones?
Like, would I give pick 15 for him? No.
No, in terms of like your
starter
for the next
Jones
like
sit under him
2 or
for
3 years.
2 years. I think he would be 3 years is risky. I'd give him a 2-year deal
Because I feel like
I feel like with that offensive line, and he's a great mentor for Jones. So you're getting your bang for your buck. Worst case scenario, he gets hurt and Jones goes in and he's still mentoring Jones from the sideline. Worst case scenario, but with that offensive line, he's in a lot better shape. So, and I mean, they just drafted another Isaiah Wynn.
If they ended up working out a trade with San Francisco and Garoppolo agreed to the terms and got the trade here before the draft, do you think we take Mac Jones at 15?
Yeah, probably.
You still think we take him?
Yeah.
So you have.
They're still going to think future.
So you're going to have Cam Newton, Mac Jones.
Newton would be gone. I mean, they'd keep Newton for maybe like a tight end, like a Taysom Hill type package thing going. I don't know.
I don't think they take Mac Jones. If they get Garoppolo, I don't think they take Mac Jones.
I don't know if there's enough talent next year to focus on a next year pick, and then next year you draft and hire.
Well, if you trade for Garoppolo, hypothetically, like years down the road, you're thinking like you have, because Garoppolo's 28 or 29.
Yeah, you're probably thinking 5-6 years.
He's still kind of young, right?
But I don't like him 5-6 years.
So like you bring him in to the coach that drafted you, the coach that believes in you, the greatest coach of all time. It's
yeah, but you get him 16 this year. I don't think he plays 16 for 5 years. I think maybe he does a 1-year deal for 16, or maybe a 2-year deal for like 32, 34, 16, 18. But I don't see him taking 16 for 5 years, like each year.
Yeah, but we're speaking like on the alternate perspective of things that could have happened.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if they could see him lasting 5 years in the NFL. I guess you can probably say they wouldn't draft Jones, but Jones at 15 seemed like a gimme. I mean, it's a good gamble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, at 15,
I think you almost have to. I don't know.
Honestly, at 15, who else do you take there? Like as the draft kind of worked its way out, so after seeing what Chicago gave up to move up and take Justin Fields, right? Mm-hmm. That's I think me and you agree on this. We would have preferred Justin Fields over Mac Jones.
Yeah, which is comforting now.
And I thought we were going to take Justin Fields. I thought he was falling.
Yeah.
But Chicago traded up to take him. Mm-hmm. And they gave up a load.
And even if they didn't, Minnesota
gave up the next 2 years of
14.
first-round picks. They gave up 2022 and 2023 for first round. For Justin Fields.
And Minnesota was taking him anyway if they didn't.
Oh, absolutely.
They already came out and said they were gunning for Fields, so that's the only reason they traded down to the Giants. So, yeah, I don't know.
Yep. And I think...
it stinks because I definitely wanted Fields. I feel like Fields has more potential,
has a higher ceiling,
diversity in his game.
I don't think he's as accurate as a passer, like a pure pocket passer, obviously.
I think he's going to be kind of like a Lamar,
but I mean,
a mobile, balanced guy.
Not like Lamar. Lamar's too quick. Lamar's like
I'm not saying, yeah, but I mean, like I'm more of like Lamar's a decently rounded quarterback. Could use some better play action accuracy.
I think Fields is a better passer,
but he adds a great dynamic. So I would compare Fields more to Lamar. I feel like in an NFL setting with NFL corners and some of the talent defensively in the NFL, I feel like he's going to be more of a Lamar.
Okay.
I just feel like he's, because college passing is like it's much easier for
Lamar
starters.
runs like 10 to 20 times a game.
Yeah.
At 20 at most.
So it's hard to say because Fields wasn't too mobile in college, but then his high school game where he couldn't pass as much, he was a lot more mobile. So it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see how he goes in the future because if corners kind of do a better job with his receivers, I mean, I'm thinking offensively for the Bears, decent offensive weapons, but overall, I mean, maybe he doesn't have as much guys open. They do play in a tougher division. Mm-hmm. So maybe you see him get more mobile. He was very mobile in high school. Granted, I know it's high school, but he does fall in that run game when his passing game isn't where he wants it to be.
That opening draft night, though, on Thursday was incredible. I think it like seeing it from a
It was
Patriots
so much
fan's
like
perspective, like
nerves and like moves,
and you have no idea what's going to happen.
Yep.
Like,
yeah, I mean, like, the number 3 pick, you had no idea who they're going with, and then 4 Atlanta, you have no idea. You expect Pitts, but like people are talking, maybe they do go quarterback, or maybe they do go differently. So I think just like the I don't know, maybe not diversity would be a good word, but I think just like how unforeseen the entire draft was.
right.
Because like most of the mock drafts weren't great. I think you even said you'd be amazed if Devontae Smith didn't go top 10, and he ended up going what?
Number 10.
Number 10 on the dot.
Because Philly traded up for him. And that, what triggered that? Philly missing out on CeeDee Lamb last year.
Yeah.
Because Dallas took him.
Yeah.
Because Philly could have taken him, and they didn't.
And then, I mean, if they don't trade up for him, then you're talking.
So Philly trades with Dallas to move up to 10 to take him. And I think that's a perfect fit. It's a great fit for Devontae.
Yeah.
Working with Jalen Hurts again, just like what Cincinnati did, and drafted Jamar Chase at 5.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Instead
a lot of
going
combos.
offensive line.
And
I think that's
didn't Miami get somebody too for Tua? Like another joint matchup.
Jalen Waddle.
Jalen Waddle.
Jalen
Yep,
Waddle.
exactly.
Yep.
And there was a few.
Jalen went right after him. Yep. He went number 6.
Yeah.
To Miami. Yeah, because Miami traded down, I think. Right? Number 6?
No, Miami had 6.
No, but they traded?
They traded down previously.
Yeah, because they got him and they got somebody else.
Yeah.
Who else did they get? I'm looking. Jalen Phillips, edge rusher, at 18 from Miami. Yeah, so honest to God, like Miami's one of the winners in this first round.
Yeah, I mean,
easily.
Miami's team itself is going to fall on Tua. How Tua progresses in the NFL is going to be the make or break for Miami.
Jalen Waddle's great to work opposite side of Devontae Parker. Waddle's like he's a shorter guy. He's a 5'10". He's a route runner. So he's not going to be your top guy. He's going to be your like second or third option. And he's got work in the slot, and he's quick, real fast.
I don't know how much I agree with Cincinnati's move
for Jamar Chase.
Yeah, I mean, like everyone said, like, oh, it could happen. Yeah, I know. I don't know.
He's a different breed.
I wanted to see them go linemen.
He's 6'2".
I mean, they got a few linemen lower down in the draft.
225.
Yeah. They needed a first-round lineman. I feel like they should have traded up for another first-round pick or done something or early second.
I really thought they would have gone with the guy from Oregon that Detroit got 2 picks later.
Suey.
Suey? Is it
Suey?
Suey?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sewell?
It's Sewell Pie.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought
Stud.
I mean, you saw how bad that offensive line was in Cincinnati. Yeah. I mean, did they make any offseason moves?
No, not really any offseason moves. Nothing really.
But I mean, you add Jamar Chase with those other.
That was the argument they're going with. That you get a quicker pass game out of them. I don't know though. You're expecting a lot out of a kid early. You know what I mean? Like they're basically saying Jamar Chase is going to get dropped in. And he's gonna solve the need for an offensive line. Like he's gonna be open, so we can just hit him. That's their game plan. But like, sounds great, but he's gonna be double covered. Maybe another guy's open, but still, you don't have an offensive line for Burrows to read all the options. It's just, I mean, they got a couple guys later rounds, but the way their line was, you need like first round, second round. I mean, it doesn't matter who your quarterback and receivers are. Look at Kansas City. I mean, stacked offense, best offense in the league, and they couldn't perform without a line.
Yep. Well, I mean,
their
line got hurt for the Super Bowl.
No,
to be fair.
But I mean, they didn't have the backups they needed because they didn't have the money.
That's
to get them.
That's like the only questionable call I would say from that first.
Yeah,
like that's the first thing that pops out to me.
If you look at their training camp last year, they cut tons of backup offensive linemen to try to get the pay cap down, and then you're expecting your veterans to make it, and then they get injured and. That's that. I mean, granted, they have a pretty stacked offensive line this year, but they don't have any reserves, so you're again relying on them all to not get hurt. And it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, their offensive line looks pretty good this year. We'll see how it goes, but they've basically bought themselves like 3 years. It's New Orleans all over again. They've backloaded everything they can. And they're banking on 3 years.
I think Cincinnati has confidence in their core of offensive linemen going into this year. To where they take Jamar Chase. But I think the biggest influence, especially in this draft,
It's just risky to do.
Especially the teams with young quarterbacks, in particular, Joe Burrow and Tua, they drafted players that those quarterbacks have played with in the past, right?
Yeah,
that was a huge influence in this draft.
And I think they took a lot of feedback from their quarterbacks because it's their franchise guys now. They've went all in on these two guys.
Yep.
My only thought is, Burrows is not a Mahomes. So Mahomes can get away and not get clobbered, or at least he can turn and run to where he's kind of getting dropped on his stomach. Burrows gets hammered.
Burrow did get hammered
every time. I literally watch Cincinnati games just to watch him get
can move.
destroyed.
Burrow has some good pocket presence. He can move.
He gets leveled. There is not any other quarterback in the NFL that gets hit as hard as him, as much as he does. And that's your future, so it's really risky to say.
That's another thing. How much influence do these teams, how much leverage do these teams give, the management and ownership?
Yeah.
How much leverage do they give these young quarterbacks? Did Joe Burrow have a say in this draft pick? Did Tua have a say in this draft pick because they know they're the future? Did the management and the head coach go to them?
Did Jalen Hurts be like, hey, trade up?
What's Jalen Waddle like?
Yeah.
Do you feel like you could work with him? Hey, Jamar Chase, you guys won a national title together. He had almost 2,000 yards receiving and 27 touchdowns in 12 games. This guy's on another level, but we couldn't protect you in your rookie year, and you got leveled, and we're out for the rest of the season. Where do we go here?
Yeah.
But how much influence are they giving these franchise quarterbacks to make these draft picks? I feel like they had a big influence on it.
Yeah, I would definitely say he's got a big influence, and I'm gonna definitely check here on the break, and I want to see, what they have for money and stuff to go offensive line.
I would say go ahead and hit it because Drew's asking when we're on air and stuff.
Gotcha,
so we'll hit the break, and Drew, call us.
508-222-1320. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, MVP Sports Talk Radio, live in Attleboro, Massachusetts. Looks like the Sox game is getting underway here. Expected to begin now in about 12 minutes. Rain delay, about a 30-minute delay total. But tarps off, and they're on the field. And with that, we're bringing in Drew. Drew, my friend, you are on the air as well.
Hey, what's up, guys? How you doing?
What's going on,
buddy?
Yeah, man, I'm just going to McDonald's. I'm going to get myself 3 Big Macs.
Oh, yeah.
3 Big Macs? 3? Like Trace?
Yeah, I'm going to get 3. One for every touchdown that Mac Jones is going to throw in his first game as a Pat.
Oh, hey. You sure it's only going to be 3?
Well, I mean, look, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. I think he'll get 3 because they're probably going to run the ball a lot with that beefed-up offensive line. So, those 2 big tight ends and then, all those other weapons. I think 3 is the right number.
All right.
3 Big Macs, huh? Gosh, dang, buddy.
I'm going to do the 3 Big Macs either way. But, yeah, man, what do you guys think about it? Big Mac coming in for the New England Patriots.
Like, okay, so here's my take on Mac Jones, right, at 15. He fell to you, right? Like, who else are the Patriots going to take at 15, right? Unless you trade back, to get some assets, but you essentially had a trash season last year, right? A complete wash of a year. And you wind up with the 15th overall pick with so many options in terms of moving up, trying to get your quarterback of the future or, getting Micah Parsons, like whatever may have you, right? And if you to kind of settle, I think it was the right, like, I'm satisfied. As a fan, I'm satisfied. I'm satisfied with that pick. Like, Mac Jones has all the potential to be exactly the quarterback that you want him to be. Like, these people that are comparing him to the pocket presence and the drive and the game preparation like Tom Brady is driving me insane. Okay, this guy should not be compared to Tom Brady in any way, shape, or form. No quarterback should be compared to Tom Brady in any way, shape, or form.
The gun, man. I mean, obviously, you've got a similar guy that sits in the pocket that has good decision-making skills. Everybody wants to compare him to Tom Brady, but you hit the nail on the head, man. I mean, you can't compare people to Tom Brady. There's only one Tom Brady.
Listen, I'm satisfied with the pick because you actually took a quarterback in the first round. Right? You're actually setting yourself up for some sort of future here, right? You're not taking, you're not going to the yard sale and waiting to the last minute to where they're trying to dump everything for $1 and you wind up with Cam Newton in August. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who's an absolute wash at this point. But so you're actually investing in your future, which is nice to see. But,
agreed.
Seeing Mac Jones go through his season last year, he had a ton of weapons around him, especially on the outside. You have 2 wide receivers from Alabama that were taken in the top 10 in this draft. That tells you something. It tells you something.
Indeed.
What's Mac Jones going to do with 2 premier free agent tight ends, but nobody on the outside? Like, roll wide receivers on the outside. If you're going to stick him in year one.
Gordon Aguilar and this kid Nixon seems like he's a burner. Although I think he's more of a slot receiver.
Yeah, but the Patriots, the receivers that are on New England right now, are nowhere near the caliber that was Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith in Alabama. Plain and simple. So like my question to you is, Drew, do you anticipate seeing Mac Jones starting this year? Yes or no?
No, and I feel not starting the season. I feel like
I said it's. I don't think he'll start week 1. At some point during this season, do you think Mac Jones will start a game?
Yes, I think by week 8 he will be the starter.
That's it. Okay.
Yeah, because I think you're going to go 3-5, or 3-4, or 2-5 with Cam. I don't see Cam starting off, super fast, and even with all the weapons, I just don't see him. I don't know. Look, if he can find a way to throw 5 to 10 yard passes 20 times a game and complete them, at 75% or 80%, and then just hand the ball off a bunch of times, then I think he'll be the starter all year. But I think it's going to be a situation where defenses are going to play the run tough, and they're going to force Cam to throw the ball. And I don't think Cam has it left in him to do that. We saw it at the end of last season, and when it came down to him having to throw the ball to win games, he really couldn't do that anymore. So I don't think that has a lot to do with Cam wasn't there for the whole off season last year, and they had a truncated off season. I think it has more to do with Cam's ability at this point. And I think Cam's a great leader in the locker room and a great leader of men, but I just don't think he has the physical ability to consistently win with his arm. I just don't think that's the case. So, having said that, I think you'll see Mac Jones by week 8.
I agree. I have nothing to say to that. That's right on point, Drew. Really is. It's exactly how I believe.
Yep.
What do you think?
I mean,
what do you think, Nick?
I think it's pretty clear. Nick, what's your take on the whole Mac Jones thing?
I don't know.
Do you think Mac Jones starts this year at some point?
Not really, but maybe. I don't think so. I think Newton's.
You're not ready to make that decision.
I think
yet.
Newton's gonna have a better year than last year. How good is I don't know. So.
I mean, look, Nick, if he throws 10 touchdowns, that's a better year than last year. But is that a good year?
Well, I mean, I think Newton's going to have a good year. I mean, obviously, if he's not on par to have a good year, then he's going to be,
I mean, I haven't seen Cam
but
Newton.
It depends on how Jones
I haven't
looks
seen
in camp.
Cam Newton have a good year since like 2016.
It also depends on, how Jones looks in camp. I mean, I think we're giving him the benefit of the doubt that he's going to look great in camp. Stidham could look better than him in camp for all we know. So it's just tough.
You don't know.
It's tough to say. I mean, I think Newton's going to have a pretty good year. I generally see Newton finishing the entire season. But again, if he sucks, then they're going to pull him. And now I think they have the flexibility to do it. But I also think there's going to be more drive there for Cam this year than last year. I think Cam probably saw Stidham looking like junk in camp and wasn't that worried. And, now he's got to be.
That's another thing. Yeah. With the Patriots taking Mac at 15, right? What does this do to Cam? Does this motivate him?
Yeah, he's got to. This is his make or break year. If he has a terrible year, he's done in the NFL.
So, for instance, and I hate to talk about the Packers right now because of how disarray they are right now, Drew, so I apologize. But last year, when they drafted Jordan Love, right, that lit a fire under Rodgers' butt, right? Mm-hmm. And he had an MVP season, right? Mm-hmm. He was the MVP. Yep.
Absolutely.
So, what is that? So, I'm not saying Cam's going to be MVP. Don't get me wrong. But does this light a fire under Cam?
It has to.
It has to, right?
This is his make or break year. So, if he comes out and has a terrible year, he's got no excuses, and he's done in the NFL. No doubt in my mind. You have two of the best tight ends in the NFL.
I think Cam will be good enough to start the whole year. So, I do not see Mac Jones playing this year.
But is he going to stay healthy enough all year to start all year?
I think he will. I think
that's another big concern for me. Like, if he starts putting the ball in his hands and calling his own number, a dozen times a game, that's a lot of wear and tear on a QB too. Is he going to stay healthy the whole season?
I think he'll stay healthy. I think he still looks great. He's still very active. I don't know. It's tough. And I watched a video the other day, which kind of ticked me off of how last year's performance was, because this was probably 8 months before we had signed him, and his arm looked phenomenal, and he was because he was setting world records with this YouTuber I watch, and his passing looked phenomenal. He was on the money every time. So it kind of just aggravated me that 8 months later we get subpar performance out of him. But again, so I don't know how things are gonna go. He's got two of the best tight ends coming in. He's got two receivers coming in. Maybe they're going to try to pick up a third now because Myers signed with... Who did Myers just sign with? Was it the Jets?
Who?
Jacoby Myers. He just signed with somebody. I forget who.
Did he?
Yeah, so he's not coming back. But anyway, I mean, yeah, like I said, it's his make or break year because it's going to come down to... if you can't get it done with two of the best tight ends in the game, one of the best offensive lines in the league.
He's still with the Pats.
I could have sworn I saw something the other day. But, yeah, it's going to come down to this year for him. If he's got a terrible year, he's done in the NFL. Who's going to want him after this year if he can't get it done with this team they just put together?
Yeah, I hear you, man. It's definitely make or break.
And that's the only reason why I'm expecting him to have a pretty good year is that he has to. He knows he has to.
So I know we got a break coming up, but before I get going, because I do have to leave, unfortunately, I do want to get Drew's take real quick on the Packers' first-round pick of Eric Stokes, cornerback out of Georgia. What do you think, buddy?
I think, Georgia guy, he's used to playing with the G on his shirt and on his helmet. I think he'll be a nice guy to fill in across from one of the best corners in the league in Jair.
Yep.
And I don't really know what the status of Kevin King is right now, but I think you can flip a coin and either, those guys are either going to play cornerback number 2 or your nickel corner across from Jair, and you're going to have a solid 3-headed monster at the defensive back position. I like it.
Right.
Now,
so you like the pick, or would you have preferred Green Bay taking a weapon for Aaron to try and, with everything going on with him, obviously? Do you think they should have gone offense there?
Here's the thing. What I would love to have seen them take some kind of another weapon there, but at that point, I don't think that pick's value made sense to go with an offensive weapon there, because if you look at what they did in the second round, they went out there and they got a guy in Amari Rodgers who is a good player and a good weapon, but they picked them in the right spot and they didn't have to reach for him.
That's
even though they did trade up for him. I think they picked them there in the right spot at the right.
That's why I don't like how Green Bay is getting so much negative criticism from this draft, because they took a solid corner at 29 and they turn around and take Amari Rodgers in the second round. I think so. You can flip flop it. You see the Ravens at 27. They took Rashad Bateman out of Minnesota. Rashad Bateman's a solid route runner at 5'11". But I think Amari Rodgers has seen much stiffer competition than the ACC, and I think he's a more completed, NFL ready receiver right now to play opposite of Devontae Adams. So I think Green Bay did the right thing here, based on where they were positioned and based on who they got, and they didn't have to give up many assets to get who they wanted. I think it was a solid draft. So I kind of don't know where Aaron Rodgers' head is right now, honestly.
Yeah, I think Rodgers' head is more wrapped around the idea that, he wants a longer contract to show that they want him long term for the next 3 to 4 or 5 years, and he wants that security blanket, right? Because I think he's got other options outside the NFL where he can walk away and still make some good coin, a la the Jeopardy gig. So, he's got that sitting on the back burner or maybe on the front burner, and now he's got an uncertainty in Green Bay. So, look, if I'm him, absolutely, I think I would go into the office and say, hey, extend me long-term or get me out of here. You know what I mean? And because of that, I think we're seeing all these rumors and all this turmoil, but,
he still has 2 years left on his deal, though.
Yeah, I know, but that's this year and next, and then he's gone. So
yeah, but he's making $30+ million each of those years.
Look, man, do I think that he's not going to make a lot of money? I think he's going to make a ton. But look, also, if you extend him out for 4 or 5 years, he's going to make a lot more money than that. And I think that's where his head's at, is let's spread that money out and let's get me locked in for 4 or 5 years. So, yeah, I mean, look, I don't like the turmoil that's going on there. Jordan Love is unproven. He was great in college. But if you look back to last year, I mean, he wasn't even the backup last year. When Rodgers took some bumps, he wasn't the guy that came in and backed him up. So, how unless they just said, you know what, guys, we're not playing Jordan Love this year. Doesn't matter what happens to Aaron. If he gets run over by a freight train, Jordan Love is still not going in there. That could have been the case because they wanted to develop him. But, I mean, we don't even know how good he can be in the NFL. So, to just be like, okay, well, let's just get rid of Aaron, I'm not sold on that, I'm just not there. And then, it sounds like Aaron only has a couple of places that he wants to go, whether it's Denver, Las Vegas, San Francisco. I don't see any of those teams making a move and mortgaging the rest of their future for the next few years to bring him in, even though he would be a huge upgrade, especially for a Denver or for a Las Vegas team. So I think he stays in Green Bay. I think they figure it out. I think if anything, you might see the GM get bounced because he clearly doesn't get along with the GM. And I think he also wants more of a say in the groceries that are getting selected. So we'll see what they do with him. I don't know if it's going to be a pretty picture come the fall, but I hope that he sticks around, man, because it's been a long time since I've had to think about a different quarterback under center for that team, and I don't want to think about that.
Yeah.
Your concerns are valid, buddy. I mean, we've been feeling like that ever since Brady went to Tampa.
Yeah, I mean, it's
I
crazy.
feel you, man.
It's crazy the quarterback drama coming on these last couple of years.
It's insane.
Brady, and now you got the Watson stuff, Rodgers. I mean, 3 quarterbacks you didn't see leaving where they were.
Yep.
So,
Right.
especially after that deal you saw with Watson, and then it's just a lot. And it seems like almost every time it's a big GM battle. It's like a GM battle every single time.
Yep.
No, I mean that's where it stems from with Watson, right down there in Houston, and then obviously Brady and Bill,
and Nick,
and Casario having their separation, if you would. So it's tough, man. As a top QB for that long in the league, I think you almost feel like it's your birthright at that point
Yep.
to be able to dictate the selections, the people that you're bringing in. Look, Tom has really set a precedent for that down in Tampa. He went down there and basically called all the shots. Hey, we're going to go get Gronk. I want Gronk. They went and got Gronk. Let's get Antonio Brown. They went out and got Antonio Brown. When the kid they got from Jacksonville, why can't I think of his name?
Oh, yeah.
Fournette.
Yeah.
Leonard Fournette. I was thinking of LeGarrette Blount. When Leonard Fournette was available, hey, guess what? We're going to go grab him. So he basically said, what they were going to do, and they went out and did it for him. I feel like a guy like Rodgers is in the same kind of position where he wants to be able to make some of those calls or at least be a participant in those conversations. And with the GM that they have in there right now, he's not being able to put his 2 cents in.
I feel like it's kind of it's a touchy thing because I'm like a firm believer in you're an employee, work for your employer, shut up, do what you're told. I'm a firm believer in that. But then again, some of these guys set the precedent and the power of the player, and especially for Brady, where it's the Brady, the Brady momentum and just the Brady factor of people wanting to play with him. Mm-hmm. So it's really tough. But I think it doesn't work with powerhouse organizations. So Houston, they're always a competitive organization, but it's kind of hard to call them a powerhouse. But Packers and Patriots are 2 just dominating franchises.
Packers,
right?
Patriots,
they've
Cowboys,
always been
Steelers.
in the championships.
Yeah.
Even the Cowboys is kind of tough. Jerry Jones is an old stubborn guy, so I feel like that's kind of there. They don't, but they struggle for the playoffs. But teams that are just constantly in the AFC and NFC champ, in that game year after year, and they're always competing and they're always in the playoffs. It's really hard to come in and try to dictate a different momentum because you're their quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it works great in Tampa because what does Tampa have to lose? Sold the least amount of merchandise in the league, couldn't fill a stadium, could barely win. They dumped money year after year and couldn't do anything with it. And, it's a gamble, but sometimes, franchises like that with no expectation can afford to do the gamble. Yeah, you know what? We'll take Tom, let him do whatever he wants because the worst case scenario, we end up
turn around
last
and
year.
draft Kyle Trask in the second round to play behind him for the next 2 years.
And he loved it.
And Kyle Trask is pretty much the same type of passer.
Yeah.
He's not very mobile.
Brady was all about it. Brady said he loved the pick. But it just goes to show, the Packers have so much more to lose. You have such a strong fan base. You have a very interactive and very, lifelong fan base. People like Drew who have just, you're with them for life.
How many fans technically own the Packers right now? Right?
Yeah.
Because the Packers ownership is fan based. Yeah.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. The city owns the team. So.
It's a tough.
Drew, you could put some money into Packers ownership right now. Technically.
maybe I'll go buy a house down there in Green Bay.
With the money that everyone is making on Dogecoin right now, you should definitely invest. You know what I mean?
Let's get that Doge
To the moon!
to the moon. I love it, dude. Oh,
right.
man.
I can't even talk about Dogecoin. I'd be almost a millionaire if I didn't sell when I sold it. All right, so let's not talk about it.
Yeah, we'll stay away from that.
So
But
ridiculous.
no, but it's just like, I don't know. To me, I feel like it's such a gamble putting all your chips into a basket, and I feel like New England couldn't do it. Like if you're Kraft, Kraft had to decide: do I gamble with Belichick or do I gamble with Brady? And he had to choose Bill. It's just how Bill was there first.
Yep.
And I feel like teams like Tampa, like I said, they can afford to do it. Maybe teams like Denver, they can afford to let's get Rodgers, let him do what he wants to do here, and let's try to do what Tampa did. And then what's the worst that happens is the worst that happened for Tampa is, they won 4 games and they're no different than last year. Maybe they sold a bit more merchandise from New England fans, but I mean, they won the Super Bowl and they sold the most merchandise in the NFL last season. So, it worked for them and they're going to try to do it again this year. And maybe they repeat, maybe they don't. It might be cool to see them repeat, but it might break my heart at the same time. And I think you're going to see a lot of teams try to do that. It's just kind of... It's a new mode. And you kind of see it in Cincinnati. You kind of see it not as much in Jacksonville, but like teams where, Bengals. I mean, I just read a thing where it was like, this is everything they need to do to have a good offensive line. And they did 0 of the things on the list. 0.
True that.
Then they went out and drafted a wide receiver. And like clearly Burrows was like, get the wide receiver. So maybe they're just putting all their chips in the Burrow basket. And that's the new thing for a lot of the franchises that can't compete. I don't know.
You don't know, man. Crazy.
But on that note, we got a break. We'll roll this break. I believe you're taking off. So
Deuces, guys.
When we come back, we're going to get Drew, if you stick around, get a quick thoughts on the Red Sox from you, and then we'll wrap the show up. Like I said, earlier show tonight. Obviously, Ryan's got to take off. And, so that's what we're going to do.
I'll be back next week. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Yeah, so we're going to roll 2 breaks. So
great
we'll
to talk draft with you guys.
Yeah,
we'll talk more
love
next
it.
week, of course.
Yeah, for sure.
With that UFC card upcoming as well.
Yeah, with some changes going on.
Oh, yeah. A little bit of changes, but thanks for joining us, folks. And I'll see you next week.
So stick around. We're going to roll this. We're going to get this break out of the way. We're at the top of the hour break, so we'll see you after the top of the hour.
Love you, buddy.
I don't know if he heard you, but we'll come back after the top of the hour. We'll have Drew's thoughts on the Sox and the Celtics. Stick around, 508-222-1320. Don't forget, ending early tonight around 8:15, 8:20, so call in. MVP Sports Talk Radio Live, Attleboro, Massachusetts. And Drew, I believe we still got you on air, sir.
My guy, what's going down?
And I do have someone online, too. I don't know if it's Ryan or somebody. Got to see. So, caller, you're on. Who do we got? Hello, hello.
Hello. Yeah.
Anybody there?
Hey.
Is that Ryan?
Can you hear me?
I can.
I've got a 23-minute drive. You got 23 minutes.
I love it, man.
Love it.
Man.
Hey, I'm dedicated, boys. I'm dedicated, all right? I got 23 minutes. I got nothing to do for 23 minutes except listen to DMX on my radio, so I might as well call the show.
Amen.
Let's go. So I think we have mixed feelings on the Mac Jones signing, a little bit of mixed feelings on what our predictions are for him. What did you guys think about the rest of the draft over the next few rounds for the Patriots?
Well, first and foremost, I got to give Drew the shout-out, the pat on the back for calling that Christian Barmore signing.
Absolutely. The fact that we picked up Barmore in round 2 is incredible. And the way that Bill traded up for him is even better. Freaking love it, guys. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, and I love that he wants to be here too, man. I'm happy with all of our picks pretty much this year.
You know, he was my guy coming out, and I thought if we didn't get a QB at 15 or if we didn't find a quarterback in the top of the draft there, I thought we'd actually trade down into the 20s and pick Barmore there. And so you can imagine how ecstatic I was with getting Mac Jones at 15. And then to Ryan's point, being able to trade back up and get Barmore in the top of the second round was like a Christmas Day gift. It was amazing, And then I love the pick of Oklahoma guy Ronnie Perkins in the third round. I think he's a beast.
Yeah, it seems like all the chips kind of just fell into the right places this year.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yep.
Let's take a small moment to give some credit to Tim, who's not in studio today, because he predicted months ago that we would take Mac Jones at 15. So let's give him a little bit of credit here.
All the credit, man. All the credit. I mean, I think I gave him the shout-out in our group chat the other day. I mean, look, the kid, I think it was 21st of February, posts up on his social media, Cam Newton will re-sign with the Patriots, and they will draft Mac Jones. And gosh darn it, if that wasn't exactly what happened. I mean, holy Christ. No shit.
hey, I love it.
Yeah, with all the crazy takes Tim has, a few are bound to hit. You know what I mean? And he was spot on. He was absolutely spot on. I like the pick at 15. I'm satisfied. I'm not excited. I'm not over the top. I'm not over the moon about it, but I like it. All right. I don't dislike it. I don't hate it. I like that we're actually taking a chance on a quarterback in the first round for once.
Yeah, I think you said it before, Brian, where, you weren't blown away by the pick, but great that they've got their quarterback of the future to work with at that 15th spot. And I think your point's valid. Like, he fell right to him at 15. Whether Bill did his due diligence or whatever the case may be, let's be honest, they were lucky to still have him sitting there at 15, especially with some of the other teams that were looking for QBs that had the capital to trade up in front of him and that could have grabbed Jones there. So
I honestly thought the Vikings might have snatched him from us at 12. I really thought the Vikings might have gone something there because Kirk Cousins has been living off of one-year deals for the past 4 or 5 years, right? And Kirk Cousins is in his 30s now. And I don't think Kirk Cousins is their long-term solution in Minnesota. I definitely thought the Vikings were going to go quarterback. And I think we lucked out. I think we really lucked out, and I thought Bill got lucky with that. But, overall, I'm satisfied with it. But, Nick, how do you feel about Mac Jones, overall?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of said last week that I'd be comfortable with him at 15. I would have been mad if we traded up for him. I wanted Fields, like I said earlier, for the diversity in the game. But I think he's a good kid. He wants to be here. I kind of get worried with the stand-up pocket quarterbacks because I feel like the game is just trying to get away from them, and it's so hard to keep them in the game now. Stidham looked like he was going to be a great fit, kind of looked like a Brady Jr., and then he came in and, he can't even earn himself a start when they're down 20 points, or when they're, trying to get 500, he can't even get a start. So, it's kind of tough on that note. I think he'll do pretty well. I'm not, overly excited like some of the New England fans are. I'm just optimistic.
I'm with you.
I feel like there's definitely a ton of room for a great quarterback out of him. But, there's a lot to learn, and the NFL is a crazy game. I think he looked phenomenal in the championship game. I remember in the championship game, Tim and I going back and forth saying that the Pats were probably going to get him then. And so, it's cool to watch him, cool to see how game smart he is. He's probably one of the more NFL-ready quarterbacks out of all of them just because he does have that smarts about him. But again, you have to have those smarts when you're not a fast, maneuvering quarterback. So it's gonna be interesting.
You can't make up for it with your pocket ability to roll out of the pocket and wait for things to break down and to make plays. You've got to have those quick instincts and that quick release to get the ball downfield. And I definitely think he has that. I forget which one of you mentioned it before that he was playing with those superstar receivers at Alabama. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see where he can with this new team, with this new offense, and playing against NFL caliber defenses every week.
Yeah, it's going to be real interesting, and
the pick.
What was that?
Overall, I like it. Overall, I like the pick.
Yeah,
and I love more grab. I love Perkins, and then I'm not really sure why they grabbed the running back where they did, but you know what? He'll probably be a special teams guy, and play that Brandon Bolden role of emergency running back / special teamer.
I think he might be a big third down back too. He's kind of like a LeGarrette Blount. He's sizable. He's a powerhouse. So,
Yeah, I mean, Harris kind of fills that role too, though. Like Damian Harris can run downhill a little bit. So.
Yeah, I'm just wondering where their heads at with the injury last year.
Yeah,
I feel like they are. I feel like looking back at New England running backs, we've always battled injuries with all of them, and I feel like
that's true.
I just feel like they kind of feel like they have to have some power there to kind of break apart because the little guys getting hammered. And
I mean, you see it in the league too, right? So you see it like look at the Giants with Saquon going down last year, right? He goes down, and their offense is in shambles after that because he's such a big focus. So you're right. Like you've got to have another option there, and then I think Bill's always done a good job, whether it was Blount or bringing in Sony Michel when they drafted him. Obviously, Harris getting a lot of playing time last year, and I can't think of the kid that we brought in from Cincinnati a few years ago. That was Rex Burkhead. Burkhead.
Burkhead.
Had all these options, and then and obviously James White was their third down guy. So you got to kind of have a backfield that's full of cards because you don't know from week to week which cards you're going to have to play. So and then they're not the kind of team that's going to draft a guy like a Barkley where they're going to give him the ball 25 to 30 times a game. They're a team that's going to share the load back there, as we've seen over the last 15, 20 years. So, it's not like, it's not like when they had Antoine Smith and Corey Dillon where they were locked in for 250 to 300 carries. You're going to see guys sharing the ball, 8 carries here, 10 carries there, 5 carries here, a couple of catches out of the backfield for a guy like James White. So they need that flexibility. So, absolutely. The kid that they drafted, good for them. They bring him in. Maybe he gives them a little flexibility. Maybe some of that thunder punch that Nick was just talking about. So good. I like that they've got another option there because we didn't bring back Burkhead, right? He's not back.
I don't believe so, and I know he's still trying to recover. So
he's not back. And then who was the other young kid, Taylor, that they had last year? I don't know what his
Taylor, right? That's the last.
Yeah. I don't know what his status is. I don't know what's going on with him. He looked good in sports last year too.
He was a rookie. He was a rookie last year, so we still got him.
Yep. So in other words, we got another guy in the bullpen to in case something happens. which is cool. I'm excited to see what the Nixon kid that they drafted in the 7th round can do at wide receiver. I think it's kind of cool that it was Ernie Adams' last pick, with the team. I don't know if you guys saw that video, but I thought that was kind of cool, the way that Bill kind of, talked really highly of Ernie and what he's done over the years in the league. And not only that, but for the Patriots specifically. And then he was able to make the pick of Nixon and bring him in and even call him and get him on the phone. I thought that was kind of cool. It's a nice moment for Ernie Adams.
So we're talking about all the great things of the draft, right? I got one question for you guys, right? So we're talking about all the great picks in the draft and how they're going to iron out. What's the one pick, either in the first round or the second round, that really kind of made you scratch your head and what's this? What's this team doing here? You know what I mean? What's a pick that made you scratch your head?
I'm still with Cincinnati, and I don't know.
Yep. You're thinking about for the whole league, right? Yeah. So Cincinnati going with Chase instead of getting the offensive lineman Sewell. I thought that was kind of weird. And then a little bit further down, you had the Raiders grab Leatherwood, who I believe was a Crimson Tide guy. Pretty sure he's an Alabama guy. But he was
offensive lineman.
Offensive lineman, and he was a 3rd or 4th round rating rather. Mm-hmm. And they grabbed him in the 1st round. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they saw some stuff in his tape that really made them go for him. But
I think John Gruden, man, the John Gruden man. I'll tell you what, it's John Gruden.
Yeah, I tell you what, man. We got too many fat guys can't play the ball, so we're just gonna go ahead and get one 1st round out of the gate. Let them know we mean business.
So I definitely see your guys' point on Jamar Chase with Cincinnati, right? With them going with a wide receiver instead of offensive lineman. But I can kind of understand why they went with Jamar Chase, because Joe Burrow played with him.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
he had nearly 2,000 yards in that national championship season with 23 touchdowns in 12 games, right?
Yeah.
He was dominant. So I can as a Bengals fan, I can live with that pick. The question mark to me was Jacksonville. Late in the 1st round, they went with Travis Etienne at running back at 26 or 27. That was my questionable piece, because their defense is in shambles. They have so many holes to fill on defense. You bring in a guy in Robinson last year who excelled. Didn't he win Rookie of the Year in the AFC last year? Or no, Herbert won. Herbert didn't have such an incredible year.
He had a great season, man. Robinson had an amazing season. In fact, I picked him up as a waiver wire guy in our fantasy league, and he was great until I traded him to my brother. But I had him in 3 or 4 leagues, and he was awesome. So he was putting up the stats, and he was a load carrier too. They were giving him the ball 20+ times a game, so he was making a big difference. I think one of the big things that you're going to see with ETN is number one, he's a good pass catcher, and number two, he has a familiarity with Trevor Lawrence, and Lawrence, more importantly, has a familiarity with him. So I feel like when it comes to pass pro in the NFL, Lawrence is going to feel like he's kind of a safety blanket, and he's going to give him that safety blanket.
This just kind of goes back, Nick, to my point that I made in studio when I said, how much influence do these new franchise quarterbacks have on draft picks, right?
Yep.
So when Jacksonville sat down with Trevor Lawrence and they said, we're taking you at number 1, buddy, who else do you think we should take? Do you really think we should take Travis? How much, when they take Travis at 24, when Miami takes Jalen Waddle at number 5 for Tua, and then Cincinnati takes Jamar Chase for Joe Burrow. How much influence are these young quarterbacks having on draft picks?
See, I think all the others have the influence. I don't know about in Jacksonville. I feel like Trevor Lawrence didn't have any say, obviously, because 1, he just got drafted, and 2, Urban Meyer is trying to really set a tone for college coaches and kind of, stick the nail on the thought that college coaches can't coach NFL. And, you've seen it tried time and time and again, and generally they fail. And so I think this is a big moment for the NCAA and for college coaches in general. And I think you kind of have to be careful questioning a lot of, the Jaguar draft picks, because you also got to keep in mind, man, Urban Meyer's got a lot of friends in the NCAA, and if there's one person that's going to have information that some of these NFL guys don't have, it's going to be him.
Yeah, I mean, I think they have a significant amount of influence, though, Ryan. To your point, these franchise quarterbacks are definitely getting the bug in the ear of these general managers and saying, hey, look, go and get this guy. In the case of Etienne, I mean, he was a big part of the success that they had there at Clemson.
He was a four-year starter. He was a four-year starter, solid running back. I just don't understand the pick at 24. In the top of the first, like in the bottom of the first round, you could have easily gotten him in round 2. There's no other team late in the first round that's going to take him, right? Because before him, Pittsburgh took Najee Harris, right? Now, if you were to get Harris, much different story, right? Harris and Etienne, though, are in 2 entirely different classes of running back.
Oh, completely.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
Etienne is not a 3-down running back in the NFL right now.
Realistically, Harris, I think they should have went Barmore with that pick, or someone similar. You need a defensive guy on that front line.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
The thing that scares me with Etienne, too, is that he did play 4 years, and that's a lot of wear and tear from that guy for 4 years. He's not a guy that, had a big season his junior or senior year, but played behind somebody else for 3 years or 2 years, and now he's coming into his own. He's a guy that was counted on for those 4 years to be a big part of that offense. So that worries me a little bit, too. And to your point, Ryan, they probably could have grabbed him somewhere in the second round. They not, used that pick. So I feel you there. I think that's a little bit of a stretch. I don't know if that's as egregious as the Leatherwood pick for the Raiders or, the Jamar Chase pick, but you can kind of talk yourself into the ETN pick. You can definitely talk yourself into the Jamar Chase pick, just because of the Burrow connection and all the numbers that he put up with Burrow. I mean, I would think he's probably close to half of the production that Burrow had in that year, when they won the bowl. So, you can definitely talk yourself into it. But, I mean, other than that, I don't feel like there were a ton of surprises. There were definitely some guys that slipped down into the second round that I thought, may have been a first-round guy or that was rated as a first-round guy. But
like Barmore.
Like Barmore or guys that had some question marks, for personal reasons. There was a couple of defensive backs. I'm trying to think of the kid right now. I want to say he went to I feel like he went to Minnesota. I can't think of his name. It started with an F. But he was a guy that sat out because of COVID, and they weren't sure where he was going to go. First round talent, but he slipped down into the second round. There were a few other guys that I can't think of right now because I'm driving and I don't have it in front of me. But there was a couple other guys that some surprises there. But overall, I mean, I think things fell into place really well. We mentioned before Green Bay trading up to grab the Amari Rodgers pick. I love that. They didn't sacrifice a lot of draft capital, and they moved up to get a great weapon for Aaron or whoever is going to end up being under center for our Wisconsin boys. The Packers in the later rounds grabbed the kid that was a Wisconsin native as an offensive lineman to shore up that line a little bit. And going back to the Jamar Chase pick, that's the thing with Cincinnati grabbing him where they did. You grabbed him there because you can't grab him after that, and there are other linemen that you can grab that they're not going to be Penei Sewell. They might not be, Hall of Fame caliber players that you can get in the top 5 of the draft, but you've got some other solid linemen that you can get down in the lower rounds, and that's what they did. They came back and they grabbed some offensive line help for Burrow and for that offensive later in the draft. So, I mean, that's why you grab Chase where you did, because you can't get him later on in the draft. You can't get that talent somewhere else.
No. Yep.
Yeah, they went lineman at 46 and again at 139, and then they got a center at 190. So
they did get 3 offensive linemen to help fortify that line.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean,
get Chase there.
Yeah, so the Jackson Carman's a decent pick because then you can swap over your kid from last year. You can put him at right tackle, start Jackson Carman at left tackle. They still need guard help, though. They didn't get any guards. they're really going to need guard help. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think they drafted, hold on here, 1, 2, 3, yeah, so 3 linemen total. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out because I think they really should have got Joe Tooney. I mean, obviously Casey dumped a lot of money out on it, but everyone had said that they need Tooney. It's going to be interesting to see how it boils out. I mean, you're talking a 6th-round center. He's not going to start. And they already wanted to replace their center and guard from last year. They can't do either of those. So it's going to be really interesting to see how it plays out over there. And I think they only have like $12 million to spend when I looked it up earlier. So, I mean, maybe it works out for them. And, one thing I wanted to touch on, though, was, how surprised were you kind of with the New England picks this year? I mean, you got Mac Jones with, I think, 2 DUIs, and then you go to the 3rd pick with Ronnie Perkins, suspended in 2019 for drug problems. Like, does that kind of surprise you? Generally, New England, we stay away from that. So I just wanted your guys' thoughts on, if that was something on Bill's mind, or maybe they're getting away from that old school factor because they just need powerhouses right now. What's your take?
Oh, did we lose Ryan?
We might have. Yeah, we did.
I didn't catch a lot of that because I was pulling up to the house and I was trying to pay attention. But, I think the powerhouse back, unless you've got a guy like Ezekiel Elliott or Saquon Barkley, obviously before the injury, it's kind of hard to go that route as a franchise. I was talking about it before where, you've got a team like New England who's had a lot of success, and they've really done it with multiple backs out of the backfield because you need extra pieces when, a guy goes down. You got a Rex Burkhead and he gets injured and he's out for 3 or 4 weeks. You got to have another guy that can step up. Mm-hmm. Or, like last year we saw that with Damian Harris. He was kind of their guy to plug in there every down, first and second down rather. And then he gets injured, and now you saw the reemergence of Sony Michel. So you've got you've got to have those multiple pieces, unless you've got a monster that you can build your team around. Like even Kansas City, they went out and they drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and used a pretty early pick on him, the 31st overall, and they still had another few guys in their stable that you were seeing last year. Starting above him or getting just as much playing time as him, because they found out that you can't give this guy that big of a workload and keep him healthy, and that's the big thing. Like you want a guy that can be that workhorse, but at the same time you need him to play every game too and be there for the playoffs, and you can't do that if you're handing him the ball 25 times a game.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm excited to have the power back in New England because you got 2 power tight ends, both good at blocking. Great offensive line. So I feel like it's going to be very hard for a good defensive backfield to stop that because generally, a good lineman breaks off, shears a safety or a linebacker. You're going to have 2 tight ends downfield blocking. It's going to set up for some good power runs. And, I'm excited about it.
Yeah, man. I mean, whether it's Newton or we see Mac Jones at some point, I mean, I think the weapons that they've got and some of the guys they've brought in are going to be exciting to watch. I think they still need to maybe see what they've got at wide receiver, with Edelman retiring and, these new guys that we brought in with Aguilar and Bourne. I mean, I don't really know how they're going to fit in. We know they're speed guys. We know they can take the tops off of defenses. Hopefully, we can get Cam throwing the ball downfield to them and being successful because, we did see Cam doing that a lot when he was with Carolina. But obviously that was multiple years ago before injuries and, in a different offense. So yep. We'll see how successful those receivers can be here in New England. But, I like what they put together. I mean, they probably don't need a ton of receiver help if those 2 tight ends are on the field, if their backs are healthy. They just need some guys, just like what I was just saying. They need guys that can kind of take the top off the defense and run those out and deep routes. So that they can set up the underneath stuff for guys like Smith and Henry and their backs coming out of the backfield.
Exactly. No, I couldn't agree more. And on that note, I think we'll end it here. I'm going to break that I'll run. I know you just pulled up home. And so we'll touch on the Celtics and Bruins clinching playoffs in the Sox. So we'll touch on all of that next week. Quick score update. It is 1-0 Red Sox, top of the third.
All right, Sox. Well, hey, man, awesome talking with you guys tonight. I'm going to get in and take care of the littles. It's Daddy Day tomorrow. I'll see you soon.
Sounds good, brother. Stay safe. Enjoy your day tomorrow with them, and talk soon.
Take care, brother.
All right, folks, I appreciate you all tuning in at home. This is MVP Sports Talk Radio in Attleboro, Massachusetts. Tune in next week where we bring you all the updates on the Bruins who are now in the NHL playoffs. We're going to talk Red Sox, and then we'll talk Celtics too, who may or may not be competing in the playoffs, depending on how they perform coming up. So we got a lot to talk about next week. So tune in again next week. We'll have a full segment next week. 7 to 9 p.m. Wednesday night. But for now, I'm Nick. You're at Ryan and Drew in studio and on the lines. It's MVP Sports Talk Radio out.